On a cold February morning in 2001, in a quiet park outside Washington, D.C., a man known inside the FBI as a model counterintelligence agent made a routine walk he had taken countless times before. Dressed plainly, carrying a small bag, he appeared unremarkable. Just another federal employee on a lunch break. But as he paused near a footbridge and reached beneath it, the routine ended. Within seconds, FBI agents closed in, weapons drawn. The man they handcuffed was not a suspect they had been hunting. He was one of their own. Robert Philip Hanssen, a senior FBI agent trusted with the nation's deepest secrets, had just been caught committing espionage for America's greatest adversary. At that moment, the FBI realized it had been infiltrated not from the outside, but from within. Robert Philip Hanssen was born on April 18, 1944, in Chicago, Illinois, to a conservative Lutheran family that lived in the Norwood Park neighborhood. His father, who died in 1993, was a Chicago police officer and was believed to be emotionally abusive to Hanssen during his childhood. This many believe was part of what drove him down the rabbit hole of dual personalities. Hanssen graduated from William Howard Taft High School in 1962 and attended Knox College in Galesburg, Illinois, where he earned a bachelor's degree in chemistry in 1966. Hanssen applied for a cryptography job at the National Security Agency following his college graduation, but was turned down due to budget constraints. He enrolled in dental school at Northwestern University, but he switched his focus to business after 3 years. Hanssen received an MBA in Accounting and Information Systems in 1971 and took a job with an accounting firm. He later quit after 1 year and joined the Chicago Police Department as an internal affairs investigator, specializing in forensic accounting. In January 1976, Hanssen left the Chicago Police to join the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Hanssen met Bernadette Walk, a staunch Roman Catholic, while attending dental school at Northwestern. The couple married in 1968, and Hanssen converted from Lutheranism to Catholicism. Upon becoming a special agent on January 12, 1976, Hanssen was transferred to the FBI's field office in Gary, Indiana. In 1978, he and his family of 6 children relocated to New York City when the Bureau transferred him to its field office there. The next year, Hanssen was transferred to counterintelligence and given the task of compiling a database of Soviet intelligence for the FBI. In 1979, Hanssen approached the Soviet Main Intelligence Directorate, the GRU, and offered his services. He never indicated any political or ideological motive for his actions, telling the FBI after he was caught that his only motivation was financial. During his first espionage cycle, Hanssen provided a significant amount of information to the GRU, including details of the FBI's bugging activities and lists of suspected Soviet intelligence agents. His most important leak was the betrayal of Dmitry Polyakov, a CIA informant who passed enormous amounts of information to U.S. intelligence while rising to the rank of general in the Soviet Army. Following a second betrayal by CIA mole Aldrich Ames in 1985, Polyakov was arrested in 1986 and executed in 1988. Ames was officially blamed for giving Polyakov's name to the Soviets, while Hanssen's attempt was not revealed until after his 2001 capture. Hanssen was also a sexual deviant, and without his wife's knowledge would allow a friend named Jack Hoschauer, a retired Army officer, watch the Hanssens' intimate moments through a bedroom window. Hanssen then began to videotape his sexual encounters secretly and shared the videotapes with Hoschauer. Later, he hid a video camera in the bedroom connected via a closed-circuit television line so that Hoschauer could observe the Hanssens from the Hanssens' guest bedroom. He also explicitly described the sexual details of his marriage in internet chat rooms, giving information sufficient for those who knew them to recognize the couple. Hanssen frequently visited D.C. strip clubs and spent a great deal of time with a Washington stripper named Priscilla Sue Gailey. She went with Hanssen on visits to Hong Kong and the FBI training facility in Quantico, Virginia. Hanssen gave her money, jewels, and a used Mercedes-Benz, but ended contact with her before his arrest, when she began abusing drugs and engaging in prostitution. Gailey claims that, although she offered to have sex with him, Hanssen declined, saying he was trying to convert her to Catholicism. His new job in the FBI's budget office gave him access to information involving many different FBI operations. This included all the FBI activities related to wiretapping and electronic surveillance, which were Hanssen's responsibility. He became known in the FBI as an expert on computers. 3 years later, Hanssen transferred to the FBI's Soviet Analytical Unit, responsible for studying, identifying, and capturing Soviet spies and intelligence operatives in the United States. Hanssen's section evaluated Soviet agents who volunteered to give intelligence to determine whether they were genuine or redoubled agents. On October 1, 1985, Hanssen sent an anonymous letter to the KGB offering his services and asking for $100,000 in cash, equivalent to $290,000 in 2024. In the letter, he gave the names of 3 KGB agents secretly working for the FBI: Boris Yuzhin, Valery Martinov, and Sergei Motorin. Although Hanssen was unaware of it, Aldrich Hazen Ames, another CIA double agent, had already exposed all 3 agents earlier that year. Yuzhin had returned to Moscow in 1982 and had been subject to an intensive investigation by the KGB because he had lost a concealed camera in the Soviet consulate in San Francisco, but he was not arrested until exposed by Ames and Hanssen. Martinov and Motorin were recalled to Moscow, where they were arrested, charged, tried, and convicted of espionage against the Soviet government. Martinov and Motorin were executed via gunshot to the back of the head. Yuzhin was imprisoned for 6 years before he was released by a general amnesty granted political prisoners, and he subsequently immigrated to the U.S. Because the FBI blamed Ames for the leak, Hanssen was neither suspected nor investigated. Hanssen was recalled yet again to Washington, D.C. in 1987. He was tasked with studying all known and rumored penetrations of the FBI to find the man who had betrayed Martinov and Motorin. This meant, in effect, that he was charged with searching for himself. Hanssen ensured that he did not reveal himself with his study. But in addition, he gave the entire study, including the list of all Soviets who had contacted the FBI about FBI moles, to the KGB in 1988. In 1989, Hanssen compromised the FBI investigation of Felix Bloch, a United States State Department official who was suspected of espionage. Hanssen warned the KGB that Bloch was being investigated, causing the KGB to end contact with him abruptly. The FBI could not produce any good evidence, and as a result, Bloch was never charged with a crime, although the State Department later terminated his employment and denied his pension. The failure of the Bloch investigation and the FBI's investigation of how the KGB learned that they were investigating Bloch caused the mole hunt that eventually resulted in Hanssen's arrest. Later that year, Hanssen gave the KGB extensive information about U.S. planning for measurement and signature intelligence, Massintelligence, a general term for intelligence collected by a variety of electronic means, such as radar, spy satellites, and signal intercepts. When the Soviets began construction on a new embassy in 1977, the FBI dug a tunnel beneath their decoding room. The FBI planned to use it for eavesdropping, but never did for fear of being caught. Hanssen disclosed this information to the Soviets in September 1989 and received a $55,000 payment the next month, equivalent to $140,000 in 2024. On 2 occasions, Hanssen gave the Soviets a complete list of American double agents. In 1990, Hanssen's brother-in-law, who was also an FBI employee, recommended to the FBI that Hanssen be investigated for espionage because his sister, Hanssen's wife, told him that she had found a pile of cash on a dresser in their home. Bonnie had previously told her brother that Hanssen once talked about retiring in Poland, then part of the Eastern Bloc. Walk also knew that the FBI was hunting for a mole and spoke with his supervisor, who took no action. When the USSR broke apart in December 1991, Hanssen, possibly worried that he could be exposed during the ensuing political upheaval, ended communications with his handlers for a time. The following year, after the Russian Federation assumed control of the defunct Soviet spy agencies, Hanssen made a risky approach to the GRU, with whom he had not been in contact for 10 months. He went to the Russian embassy in person and physically approached a GRU officer in the parking garage. Hanssen, carrying a package of documents, identified himself by his Soviet codename, Ramon Garcia, and described himself as a disaffected FBI agent who was offering his services as a spy. The Russian officer, who evidently did not recognize the codename, drove away. The Russians then filed an official protest with the U.S. State Department, believing Hanssen to be a triple agent. Despite having shown his face, disclosing his codename, and revealing his FBI affiliation, Hanssen escaped arrest when the FBI's investigation into the incident did not advance. Hanssen continued to take risks in 1993 when he hacked into the computer of a fellow FBI agent, Ray Mislock, printed out a classified document from Mislock's computer, and took the document to Mislock, saying, "You didn't believe me that the system was insecure." Hanssen's superiors were not amused and began an investigation. In the end, officials believed his claim that he was merely demonstrating flaws in the FBI's security system. Mislock has since theorized that Hanssen probably went onto his computer to see if his superiors were investigating him for espionage and invented the document story to cover his tracks. In 1994, Hanssen expressed interest in a transfer to the new National Counterintelligence Center, which coordinated counterintelligence activities. When told that he would have to take a lie detector test to join, Hanssen changed his mind. 3 years later, convicted FBI mole Earl Edwin Pitts told the FBI that he suspected Hanssen due to the mislock incident. Pitts was the second FBI agent to mention Hanssen by name as a possible mole, but superiors were still not convinced, and no action was taken. IT personnel from the National Security Division were sent to investigate Hanssen's desktop computer after a reported failure. NSD Chief Johnny Sullivan ordered the computer impounded after it seemed to have been tampered with. A digital investigation found that an attempted hacking had occurred using a password cracking program installed by Hanssen, which caused a security alert and lockup. After confirmation by the FBI Computer Analysis Response Team Unit, Sullivan filed a report with the Office of Professional Responsibility requesting the further investigation of Hanssen's attempted hack. Hanssen claimed he was trying to connect a color printer to his computer, but needed the password cracker to bypass the administrative password. The FBI believed his story, and Hanssen was merely given a warning. During the same period, Hanssen searched the FBI's internal computer case record to see if he was being investigated. He was indiscreet enough to type his name into FBI search engines. Finding nothing, Hanssen decided to resume his spy career after 8 years without contact with the Russians. He established contact with the SVR, known as Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service, a successor to the Soviet-era KGB during the autumn of 1999. He continued to perform incriminating searches of FBI files for his name and address. While Hanssen was working as a Russian mole in the FBI, Aldrich Ames was at the CIA. This complicated counterintelligence efforts during the 1990s. Ames was arrested in 1994. His exposure explained many of the asset losses U.S. intelligence suffered during the 1980s, including the arrest and execution of Martinov and Motorin. However, 2 cases, the Bloch investigation and the Embassy Tunnel, remained unsolved. The FBI and CIA formed a joint mole hunting team in 1994 to find the suspected second intelligence leak. They created a list of all agents known to have access to cases that were compromised. The FBI's codename for the suspected spy was Graysuit. Some promising suspects were cleared, and the mole hunt found other penetrations, such as CIA Officer Harold James Nicholson, who was arrested in 1996. However, Hanssen escaped notice, likely because these efforts concentrated on CIA agents rather than FBI agents. FBI investigators later made progress during an operation where they paid disaffected Russian intelligence officers to deliver information on moles. They paid $7 million to KGB agent Alexandra Shcherbakov, who had access to a file on Agent B. While it did not contain Hanssen's name, among the information was an audio tape of a July 21, 1986, conversation between Agent B and KGB agent Alexander Fefilov. FBI agent Michael Wagspach thought the voice was familiar, but could not remember who it was. Rifling through the rest of the files, they found notes of the mole using a quote from George S. Patton's speech to the Third Army about the purple-pissing Japanese. Immediately, another FBI analyst remembered Hanssen using that same quote. Wagspach listened to the tape again and recognized the voice as Hanssen's. With the mole finally identified, locations, dates, and cases were matched with Hanssen's activities during the period. 2 fingerprints collected from a trash bag in the file were analyzed and proved to be Hanssen's. The FBI surveilled Hanssen and soon discovered he was again in contact with the Russians. To bring him back to FBI headquarters, where he could be closely monitored and kept away from sensitive data, they promoted him. They gave him a new job supervising FBI computer security. Hanssen was given an office and an assistant, Eric O'Neill, who was actually a young FBI surveillance specialist who had been assigned to watch Hanssen. O'Neill ascertained that Hanssen was using a Palm 3 personal digital assistant to store his information. When O'Neill was able to briefly obtain Hanssen's PDA and have agents download and decode its encrypted contents, the FBI acquired their conclusive evidence. During his final days with the FBI, Hanssen began to suspect something was wrong. In early February 2001, he asked his friend at a computer technology company for a job. In the last letter he wrote to the Russians, which was found by the FBI when he was arrested, Hanssen said that he had been promoted to a do-nothing job, outside of regular access to information, and that something has aroused the sleeping tiger. However, Hanssen's suspicions did not stop him from making one more dead drop. After leaving a friend at an airport on February 18, 2001, Hanssen drove to Virginia's Foxstone Park. He placed a white piece of tape on a park sign to signal his Russian contacts that there was information at the dead drop site. He then followed his usual routine, taking a sealed garbage bag of classified material and taping it to the bottom side of a wooden footbridge over a creek. When FBI agents observed this incriminating act, they rushed in to arrest Hanssen. Upon being arrested, Hanssen asked, "What took you so long?" The FBI waited 2 more days to see if any of Hanssen's SVR handlers would show up at Foxstone Park. When they failed to appear, the United States Justice Department announced Hanssen's arrest on February 20th. Hanssen negotiated a plea bargain that enabled him to avoid the death penalty in exchange for cooperating with authorities. On July 6, 2001, he pleaded guilty to 13 counts of espionage, 1 count of attempted espionage, and 1 of conspiracy to commit espionage in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Virginia. On May 10, 2002, Hanssen was sentenced to 15 consecutive sentences of life in prison without the possibility of parole. In his statement, he said, "I apologize for my behavior. I am ashamed of it," Hanssen told the U.S. District Judge Claude Hilton. "I have opened the door for calumny against my totally innocent wife and children. I have hurt so many deeply." On June 5, 2023, Hanssen was found unresponsive in his prison cell and was pronounced dead after unsuccessful efforts to revive him. His autopsy listed the cause of death as colon cancer.